What's up, guys? Brady Fugel here, coming at you with a review of the new Volumes album Mirror Touch, released this past Friday, December 12th. This is my last album review of 2025. Before I start, I just want to say thank you to everybody who has watched my content, liked, commented, subscribed to my content. I cannot express enough how much I appreciate all of you. I plan on continuing this channel next year, so if you're new to this channel, if you're just seeing me for the first time, hit the subscribe button. And let's talk about this record. This is the fifth album from this progressive metalcore band who I have followed for a little over 5 years now. If you're a fan of this band, I just did that discography ranking where I talk about and rank all 4 of their previous albums. I highly recommend watching that just because it'll give a little bit of extra insight and you'll be able to kind of see where I'm coming from with this album in terms of the more positive things I will say about their previous records. Because to me, this is their worst album. It's not like all bad. I mean, the lead single and opener on here, Sidewinder, I think is a pretty decent song overall. I do think the riffing gets a little bit redundant and just the way that it constantly maintains that same style with very little note changes. But it does overall have a good balance between being techy but also being approachable and still having a good groove to it. It's definitely one of the most energetic songs on here, which will become a criticism of mine at multiple points throughout this review. I also really like the closer on here, Suffer On, which features Black Sheep Wall, who I'm not familiar with. But there's that killer opening groove that definitely reminds me of some of their older material, which has always been my favorite aspect of this band's music, just the fact that they can maintain this genty style of riffing, but actually put some groove into it, which a lot of bands don't do. Again, I think the song maybe is a little bit long, but the whole time the song is just packed full of energy. So the 2 bookend tracks on this record, I find myself enjoying for the most part. It's everything in between that I'm going to be very critical about in this review. The kind of overarching criticism that I will have for this album, just the majority of these songs, is that they sound really, really dull and just uninspired and boring even. And to my ears, that's just because the band tries way too hard on this record to just get on like the Octane charts. The tracks on here just blend together so fucking much. You hit play on the overwhelming majority of the songs on this record, and it's going to start out the exact same way. Cute little synth melody, a somewhat dull opening riff, a verse with a more quiet instrumental sections, and some pretty vocal lines. I will give it to them that Volumes has pulled this style off pretty well on their past records, but they dive way too far into it on this album. I don't necessarily think this was a bad idea for them to go in this explicitly more melodic direction compared to their previous albums, but the execution really falls short for me. So I'll just start rattling off instances. For one, there's the track that sees the band get possessed by the spirit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, the song California, which is literally a song about California. If Red Hot Chili Peppers does it, that's one thing. Like that's kind of their thing, and it does, in a way, fit their sound. This song just does not work. It does not work. There's like these oddly twangy intro melodies, which just kind of don't sound all that good. The lyrics themselves, I mean, like I said, the song is about California. I mean, how uninspired does it get? Even the songs that Red Hot Chili Peppers sings that about, I think have more nuance lyrically than just being about a state. This is just one of those songs where you could tell that they had this specific idea for the specific theme, and as a result, it just feels really like boxed in creatively. Like they forced themselves to write the parts on the song as opposed to it just happening organically. I know as a musician, sometimes that happens. You have this really cool idea for this final product and this overarching theme for a song, and then when you go to do it, it's not the same because you feel a lot less fluid in what you're able to do. It's a lot less natural sounding. And when I have tried to do that in the past, my songs haven't come out as good. But you know what I do when that happens? I don't put that song on my record. And I'm not doing this in a way to plug my music. I'm just using myself as an example because I can relate to it in a way. It's the same thing with the track Adrenaline, the lyrics. How repetitive do they get when he says, "I'm running on adrenaline"? Like, that, to me, it reads like someone had this very specific, again, lyrical idea of, let's write a song where the main refrain is, "I'm running on adrenaline." And then the entire song is just molded around that specific idea. You could tell just because of how overused that line is in the song. And the fact that the lyrics don't really dig beneath the surface in terms of that theme at all. why are you running on adrenaline? What's the reason behind you running on adrenaline? They're not talking about anything in this song. Same thing with Bad Habit lyrically, which this might be my least favorite song on the album. This track, it's just like one giant pet peeve for me. For one, just the structure of this song is just so generic and so uninventive. This sounds like an AI song. Going back to that point about the lyrics, like how many songs have you heard that use this refrain of, oh, I've got a bad habit? For one, that theme is just beyond played out. But the band doesn't even attempt to actually use this theme to say something. The lyrics on here, they're so painfully surface level. This track is about as soulless as modern metalcore can get. There are a few attempts beyond the bookend tracks where the band like tries to be heavy. Like the main riff on S.O.A.P. Listen to how fucking sad that sounds. And there's two culprits for this. For one, the riff itself is just so bland in its rhythm. It's so vanilla, especially given Volumes' catalog. Context is really important with this record, I think. But it's also the guitar tone, which is another big pet peeve of mine in a lot of modern metalcore. It's so synthesized on here. It has zero presence. It has no crunch to it. It just sounds nauseatingly fucking polished. But maybe the biggest failure on this record, which completely knocks the wind out of it, especially given its overall goal, like I mentioned earlier, of just trying to get on Octane, these fucking choruses are just sad. The chorus is supposed to be the apex of the song. And you listen to choruses on here like Bad Habit and S.O.A.P. and California, Dream, Worth It. These choruses just like, they flatline in the song so much. The saddest attempt on here may be being Stitch, because the music up to that point actually does a decent job of building up some tension, and then just nothing happens after all that tension build up. You just kick into a really boring sounding chorus. Like, I can't be the only one who was listening to that song expecting it to kick into like this crushing gent groove, and then the complete opposite happens and you're just let down. It's not until the second verse of that song where the energy actually does do a decent job of picking up. But again, nothing really happens after that. It's just another song that doesn't really hit. Bottom Dollar is another attempt on here of the band trying to kind of be heavy, and it mainly utilizes this droning and somewhat ugly sounding open riff. But as a result of that being the main focal point of the song, it makes the track overall a bit sluggish, and there's a notable lack of dynamics. The song sounds really like open rhythmically, like it's missing something. Which honestly is probably the best way to describe this overall album. Just a serious lack of dynamics. It is a chore getting through the middle of this album. Everything from track 2 to track 9. A couple more notes on the production. Although I really don't like the guitar tone like I mentioned earlier, I do think the drums are pretty well produced. The bass drums sound nice and thick. The snare drum really cuts through the mix. The vocals are okay. I think the biggest issue production-wise there is that they were produced very similar for the entire record. So as a result, they sound the same on the really slow melodic songs on here as they do on the heavier parts or when those songs even get heavy. So maybe they're good sonically on the more mellow cuts on here like Bad Habit or California. They come off really underwhelming and overly polished on the songs that try to be a bit more powerful or try to bring more dynamics like S.O.A.P. or Adrenaline, which then also plays into what I said earlier about the choruses themselves just not really hitting. The vocal production has a lot to do with that. So yeah, there's 2 songs that I like on this record, and everything else just doesn't do it. It's painfully middling at best. I mean, hey, though, they dropped the album at a good time because it dodged everybody's worst albums of the year list for the most part. So if you happen to check out my worst albums of the year video that I just uploaded after watching this, we're going to consider this record tied for the number 10 spot. This is, without question, this band's worst album to date. They just phoned it in. That's really the best way of putting it. They asked ChatGPT, how can we hit number 1 on the Octane charts? And here we are. This album gets an 8 out of 30 for me. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've heard this album, please comment below your thoughts on it, as well as hit subscribe for more rock and metal-related content. Check the description for all my links. Until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace.